have we lost our ability to be so imaginative at this age and stage? It's a great exercise.
This looks really fun, but I could never be that imaginative. And you said that's the challenge.
Welcome to Mixing Up Midlife, the weekly podcast for women in their 50s and beyond, almost 60s, who want to explore this incredible age by being more adventurous, more curious, trying everything out. I'm Terri.
And I'm Melissa. And Terri, on this week's episode, we may lose all our listeners because we're taking a sharp left and talking about something that is a little different from the typical thing you might think of as empty nester. We're going to talk about a random topic that I kind of been intrigued with lately.
You got to tell the whole story about why you're intrigued.
Well, we talked about so many other topics. We've talked about things we are interested in, things we've always wanted to do. And this is something I never, ever thought I wanted to do.
No, me neither.
Should I mention what it is now?
I don't know. I'm afraid because everybody's going to be like, I'm out. Go ahead.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
Now, Terri, what do you think of when I say the name Dungeons and Dragons? What image comes to your mind?
Nerd.
And a particular kind of nerd from picture Stranger Things.
Oh, Stranger Things. Yeah. But I actually picture my brother, one of my older brothers, playing in the kitchen with his friends. And this is probably 77, 78, something like that.
Right.
And me just going, these guys, I don't even understand what they're doing. They're so nerdy. What are they even doing?
It kind of goes with the whole Lord of the Rings,
Yes.
obsessed people who start learning Elvish and things like that.
Oh, God, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? We recently talked about romantasy.
We did talk about romantasy, and this leads into romantasy, I think. Right?
Yeah. You told me we got an amazing amount of downloads on that episode.
Crazy.
So
Yeah.
I think there are empty nesters, women 50 and beyond who are reading that romantasy and interested in that, which means there's some fantasy involved there.
That's right.
And what is Dungeons and Dragons if it's not fantasy? There's probably it's in the title, right? Dragons.
Right. You and I, neither one of us knew very much about it.
No.
You had mentioned Stranger Things. I mentioned my brother. But now your son...
My son got into it a couple years ago, and I asked him, I'm like, so are you a dungeon master?
Are you a dungeon master?
Yes, a dungeon master. And he's like, Mom, DM. That's a much less ick way of saying it. I'm like, okay.
Ick is such a kid term, too.
I know. But
that's funny.
he is obsessively writing these stories. And I understand now. Okay, should I go back to the other podcast? Let's mention it.
We'll put a pin in your son, but go back to how this actually started. Because you listen to a podcast.
I listen to a podcast that's real fun. It is called Your Mom and Dad. They're a cute young married couple that I believe started by, and still do, analyze The Bachelor, which is why my daughter brought them to my attention. But then they started following some other things I was watching, Love is Blind and things like that. And I just find them very amusing, and they play off each other really well. And then the last episode that I listened to, they said this is going to go off the left turn for us as well, because the woman, Jess, got really interested in watching on YouTube people play Dungeons and Dragons. So she decided, let's try it out.
She was just served this Dungeons and Dragons video because she was watching something else and that was the next thing up. So it was total happenstance. And it turns out that one of their very close friends is a DM and has been a DM for quite some time. I think his name is Brian Samus. And also one of their friends has had a character in Dungeons and Dragons for, I don't know, 5-7 years, something like that.
Do you get the feeling this is something that people kind of do in the closet a little bit? They don't tell everybody that they do this type of thing every Friday night.
So, yes, the really amazing thing about this podcast, and let me tell you, I'm going to link it in the show notes. I have never laughed so much and been so intrigued by any podcast ever. I'm not even kidding you. Like, I will go now and leave a review on their YouTube and their podcast because I was in the city, New York, and I was walking down the street listening and laughing out loud. It was so funny. And
it was long, and I kept listening and listening. I couldn't turn it off.
Same. And that's the thing, Melissa. I don't listen to long podcasts. I can't. I don't have the attention. But because it was fantasy and story building, and it was almost like listening to an audiobook where these people are on an adventure doing things. I was so hooked. But the thing that I was the most hooked about, and this is, I think, really where I want to bring it to, is the creativity and the imagination. And have we lost our ability to be so imaginative at this age and stage? I just think it's a great exercise.
I listened to it and said, this seems really fun, but I can never be that imaginative. And you said that's the challenge.
That is the challenge. The thing about it is you're constantly, it's improv, Melissa.
It's improv.
This is what I've always wanted to do. This is improv. It's storytelling. I am so jazzed by this. I got to figure out a way to play and play safely. And I mean safely in that I want to feel not like a total idiot.
Right. So I think it's very vulnerable putting yourself out there. You come up with a character. You have to act as this character. You do things. You would be better at it, I think, off the bat because you read these type of fantasy books. And I don't even know what to call my character. Yes.
Same.
Jess was some type of crow.
She was Cindy Crawford, which was hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
And her story about Cindy Crawford, who Cindy Crawford was.
Yes.
Just that alone, the imagination, yes, and taking the time to use your imagination to go to some place that has nothing to do with your daily life is kind of exciting.
It's kind of that, as we said, people are maybe reading romantasy now because it's getting away from the daily life, and it's an escape. It's a fun escape, and I totally understand now why people do it. And what's good about this podcast also, we're doing a podcast telling people to listen to another podcast because they are learning it. They've never played it before. So they're learning it as they play. So you start understanding that part of playing is this situational play or something like that.
I think it's called RPGs. This type of game is called an RPG, which is role-playing game. I think you're right, too. It's so fascinating. We have absolutely no idea of the rules or how to even get this going or how to try it ourselves yet. But, Melissa, this is really something I think would be so beneficial for us because I think it would open up creative. That was the weirdest way to say it. It would be a great exercise in creativity.
It would be. And it's, as you said, being vulnerable, losing your I've got to be cool inhibitions and things like that, and just going for it.
Yeah. Is it I got to be cool or is it more like so you said something earlier. You're like, I don't think I have the imagination. And I think everybody has the imagination. I just think it's been sort of programmed out of us.
Right.
And what a gift to get that back.
Yeah, I think that is definitely one part of it. But another part of it that I actually like, and I think they mentioned it too, it's like a escape room.
Yes.
On your own.
That's right.
So again, this is what my son tells me. There's two kinds of play. There's the kind that it's a one-off, which is what they did, where there was an actual, they solved the problem or whatever.
Right.
They solved the mystery. And there's the other ones where they keep going, and it's probably different quests and it's ongoing. But if you do just the one-off ones, then there's a nice feeling of completion and you solved
it's a puzzle.
Yeah, it's a puzzle that you're solving. And theirs was a
puzzle.
very bizarre one, too.
Oh, it was hilarious. But I thought about it also in terms of getting more people into it. Think about all the universes, Taylor Swift universe. Could you imagine? It's like fan fiction.
It is.
Imagine the fan of Taylor Swift playing this game. Like she's sort of a puzzle in it. I don't know. I think there's something.
I think you could bring characters into it and do it around stories that you know. I thought a lot of the Harry Potter world and that kind of thing. And think how big that was. Adults were reading Harry Potter, too.
I was reading Harry Potter. I still will read Harry Potter.
So there definitely is a world out there where not everybody thinks they want to be known as this type of person, but they're enjoying it.
I think it's a really cool thing to try. I don't know how much more we can actually talk about it because we don't know too much about it, but
no.
I think there's something there. So what are our next steps with this, Melissa? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to accomplish? Do you want to look for an online place that we can play?
I would like to look into that. There's a website, and I think it's just the Dungeons and Dragons website. It's dnd.wizards.com. And that's where I got a lot of information on it. They say how to play, how to look for people to play with, how to play online. So maybe we do a little bit more research. And you know what, Terry? We haven't finished our bingo card yet. Should we add it?
We can put that on our bingo card. We did finish the bingo card. We just haven't, talked about it. But we can put that on our bingo card. I like that.
Okay, let's add that to our bingo card for this year.
All right, cool. I got so jazzed up by this, Melissa. I don't know if anybody else is going to be as jazzed as we are, but in the show notes, I will link to that podcast episode from
and do
your
the
mom
YouTube
and dad.
too, because I don't know what they did visually, but it might be interesting.
Oh, well, they're hilarious.
Yes.
So the only reason I listened to it, and it didn't lose anything in not watching it. And again, I will say this. I will go back and watch it because they were so hilarious.
Right.
I just don't like sitting down.
Right. And for that amount of time, definitely.
Yeah, that's a long bit of time to sit and watch something. So
you could finish a 500-piece puzzle while doing that.
If you're a puzzler,
If
correct?
you're a puzzle person.
I am not. This is going on our bingo card, like you said. Hey, if any of you are listening and say, I am a little intrigued by this as well.
Or you might already be doing this.
Oh, even better. If you're a D&D person or a DM, let us know, please.
Yeah.
Just email us, leave us a voicemail on our website, mixingupmidlife.com. That would be incredible. We'd love to hear from you.
Because we are always curious, which is our theme.
ABC, always be curious.
That's
okay.
right.
So what else have we got, Melissa?
So weekend watch, did I mention I was watching Fargo?
No.
Okay, we started watching the latest episode of Fargo because people assured me that I didn't have to watch seasons like 1 through 4, which we had.
Okay.
So I would definitely recommend that.
Hulu FX?
Hulu. We must be watching it on Hulu.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. And the main character in it is Juno Temple from Ted Lasso.
Yes.
And John Hamm is in it too.
I love John Hamm.
Yeah, it's
He's
good.
funny.
Dark, but good.
All right, so it's dark but good. Is it violent?
There is some violence in it.
But is it gross violence or is it, I have a weird threshold for certain types of violence. Like sometimes I can, sometimes I can't.
It might get a little too much for you. I would turn away at some point, but it might be
Okay.
something to watch with the husband and just turn away at certain times.
Okay, but you said it's funny.
It's funny. It's funny.
So it's a dark comedy.
Yes.
Okay, so that
Well, you saw Fargo, the movie, right?
I did, and that was kind of gross. I do remember
Yeah.
that. But it was
There
great.
isn't a wood chipper, but there is
Thank
other
God.
things.
There are other things. All right. Well, we'll give it a shot. I mean, we're really watching nothing new.
I was going to say, it's pretty lean lately.
I'm up for anything new and fun. You know, talking about fantasy and science fiction. The new Dune is coming March
I heard
11th. Everybody says it is excellent.
We started watching the first Dune because I never saw that.
I heard that was not great.
Oh, really? Because I kind of got bored with it. No. The one that this is a sequel of.
Yeah, everybody says that's better than the original Dune. That I think
people loved it, but we
bored.
stopped watching it because I was tired, and I'm not dying to jump back into it.
I think that is a really good indication of where your interests lie. I don't know that I could actually get my husband to watch Dune, to be quite honest, because he's really not into sci-fi. Mm-hmm. And am I into sci-fi? He's definitely not into fantasy, unless it's a different kind of fantasy.
Romantasy, going back to that, I did get to the top of the list on my Libby app for Fourth Wing, so I've started listening to that.
Oh, you're listening to it. You're not reading it.
Which I'm happy about. I think I'm better listening to it than I am reading it.
When you mentioned it, you're like, I got it. And I thought you were reading it. And I was like, I'll read it too. But I went to my Libby and I was able to listen to it.
Oh, you got the audiobook too? They must have gotten a bunch of new copies because I was like way down on the list last I looked.
So I just started listening to it too. And yeah, if you don't have Libby, definitely look at it. It's connected to your library. You get your local library card and you put it into this app and you can borrow from your library. It's kind of awesome.
The great thing is you put things on your hold list and then just randomly they show up, 6 months later. And you're like, well, I don't remember what that was, but I'll listen to it or I'll read it.
Yeah, it's a really long one. I just started listening to it on the train. And then my phone died, my computer died. I didn't bring any of my chargers like a dum-dum.
So far, it hasn't gotten as much into the romantic part of the romantasy.
The spicy?
Yes, it hasn't gotten spicy yet. I hear it is, but all I can think of is Hunger Games.
Oh,
that's what it seems like so far.
I liked reading Hunger Games, Suzanne Collins, right?
I think so, yeah.
I actually really liked Suzanne Collins when the kids were little because she did age-appropriate, kind of interesting things. I can't remember what they were.
Except Hunger Games.
Well, no. There was like a younger.
Oh, yeah.
There was a younger thing. It was something about a mouse. Gregor.
Oh, yeah.
I think she did. I don't remember. It was like a mouse. Was he a mouse?
I think so.
I don't even remember. But I loved reading those with the kids. Of course I did. This is obviously my genre.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I read all of the 5 books of A Court of Thorn and Roses.
Wow.
Some of them get
spicy.
Like, I was blushing.
Well,
I was
I sent you a TikTok, and you might have seen it on your own as well, of that woman who does the literal expressions of what she's reading.
He ground his teeth.
She acts it out, and she looks at him and licks her lips.
It was very funny.
It's very funny.
I actually thought about this because the expressions were so ridiculous.
Right.
In the book, they were like your typical romance. He looked at her with a pool of water in his eyes or something.
Yeah. His eyes became a pool of water. And
or
she's like trying to figure out how to do it. Well, maybe we should put that on our Facebook.
We'll do that as well.
Because we talked about the romantasy, and I just think that's kind of funny.
I thought that was hilarious. Okay, so this is what you're reading.
That's what I'm reading.
Listening to.
And I'm reading a historical fiction book, Sweetness of Water. And I just have to tell you, I'm so sad. There's sad things happen, and I'm tired of reading sad things.
But, Melissa, this is I can't go serious. There's too much going on right now that I literally can't. And everybody wonders why I like this stuff. It's because it's pure escapism. And I think we all need a little bit of something that isn't real,
Exactly.
Even when it's got some killing in it.
Yeah. I have other TikToks. I just happen to get a newsletter type thing that just likes to send me links on fun TikToks and social strategies. It's a social strategist. And she pointed out a few TikToks, and one of them I thought would make you cringe, put it this way.
Okay.
It's Top Hat Pomona, and it's a liquor store. They've kind of gone viral in these videos where they just go into convenience stores and grab out some weird sugary drink or candy or something, and then they go back to their liquor store and they make a cocktail with it. So I thought of you making cocktails, but I'm like, oh my God, these all look so disgusting. And all everyone's comments on it, they must all be young because they're like, oh, that's so cool. I want to go to that liquor store.
That's definitely not for me.
I thought that was funny.
I'm out on that one.
And then there was another one, OPI, the nail polish.
Yeah.
They have a scientist that works for them, and she was explaining their latest nail polish. I put it in the try it and buy it. I liked about it, people like gel nail polish, but you can't get that off. But people like it because it stays on. And so what she was explaining was how this stays on like gel, but comes off like regular nail polish.
Oh.
Now, that would be a try it or buy it. If I was to buy some nail polish, that's what I'd want.
Okay. So you'll link that in the show notes?
I will link that.
Okay. Fantastic. I have no try it or buy it. I'm completely tapped out. Haven't been buying anything, kind of on purpose.
Me too.
Trying to make my monthly spending a little bit less. It's been out of control.
I just bought a round-trip plane ticket to Japan for my son on my credit card.
So. Yeah. Think of all the points, though.
It's crazy.
When does your son leave for Japan?
Like March 30th. So he gets there the 31st. He starts school on the 1st.
That's really exciting. We have zero plans. We've got nothing going on. The puppy is getting her haircut, baby's first haircut. All right. I think it was a really fun conversation on D&D. Don't forget, if you're interested in D&D, if you play D&D, let us know. It would be really, really cool to find out more about this. If you're a female over 50 and a DM, let us
even
know.
Better.
Because it doesn't seem like a lot of women play this.
No.
Why?
We did a Google search and basically nothing came up. So we might be the first.
I doubt that, but I think it's maybe time to bring it to the forefront.
Maybe.
Maybe we'll be known for that.
And maybe nobody's listening right now because they all turned it off when I mentioned what we were talking about.
There's a good chance of that.
Oh, well,
not,
back to our regular programming next week.
That's right. We will see you next week. As always, you can find us on our website, Mixing Up Midlife, on Instagram, TikTok, and Melissa's Instagram, MMaylette Photo. Make sure you see what she's doing over there. And of course, leave us a voicemail on our website because we would love to hear from you.
On anything. Doesn't have to be on D&D.
And join us in our Facebook group, Mixing Up Midlife. We'd love to have you over there.
All right. Have a great week.
Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.
This is what we do.
This is what we do. I appreciate us for doing that.
This is why we keep doing it.
It's fun. I mean, this stuff is fun. I like exploring all these things. And if we didn't have this, would we be as exploratory or challenging each other?
I went back to our list of guests. I'm like, oh my God, we talked to this people. We did this. We talked about this. I'm like, it's amazing how many topics we have discussed in this podcast.
That's right. It's not super focused.
No, but
neither am I.
It just reflects our personality.
That is correct.
Itty.